So here are the Model 11 Part 1 notes. This is page 8. This is going to tie in what we have done in the past with frequencies, relative frequencies, and probabilities, and give us a hint as to what is coming up. So here, we are going to list the probability of each of these. Again, this is a relative frequency probability. These came out of the number of movies that Zach did watch, 50 weekends? So almost the whole year we're talking about. And it's nice dividing by 50. I multiply the denominator by 2 to get 100, which means it's a percent now. Or 2 places after the decimal, which makes it really easy to crank out these probabilities. And we can go through and add them all. Make sure that when they add, we get 1. Okay. So we are going to talk about how to find these. I'm going to write a whole lot out for some of these. But moving forward into our normal distributions and finding probabilities with normal distributions, the complement is going to be a big deal, okay? So DI, the first one, probability of at least 2 movies. So that is going to be the probability that X, which is the number of movies, is greater than or equal to 2. So number of movies, X right here, this X right here. So that is the probability of 2 movies, or 3 movies, or 4 movies, or 5 movies, 6 movies, 7, 8, and I'm going to have to shrink this down in just a minute. So that is a 0.2 plus 0.18 plus 0.14 plus 0.08 plus 0.10 plus 0.02 plus 0.04 plus 0.12. Now let me go ahead and shrink. I get the probability that the number of movies is at least 2. When I add all those up is 0.88. Complement says I can go the other direction. I can go 1 minus the probability that X is less than 2. That's a minus there. So X less than 2 is the probability of a 0 or a 1 movie weekend, which is a 0.04 plus 0.08, a whole lot less work than what I just did a minute ago. That's 0.12. So the probability that X is greater than or equal to 2 is 1 minus the probability that X is strictly less than 2, which is 1 minus 0.12, which is the same, I guess I'll put in the 0, 0.88 that we got a minute ago. Probability greater than 2, which is the probability of 3 movies, plus the probability of 4 movies. So I am looking together to add together all of the probabilities that could possibly happen, right? If it's greater than 2, these are my options. Why do I have trouble with that last one? So I get 0.18, 0.14, 0.08, feels kind of redundant since we just did most of this right above. 0.02, 0.04, 0.12. Guess I should write that complement rule up here. This is the probability, not the complement rule, that X is greater than 2. So our probability here that X is greater than 2, when I add these together, I get 0.68. With the complement rule, that would be 1 minus the probability that X is less than or equal to 2. Again, fewer things to add here. Probability of a 0, a 1, or a 2 movie weekend. I get 0.04 plus 0.08 plus 0.20, which is 0.32. So 1 minus the probability that x is less than or equal to 2 is 1 minus 0.32, and we get the 0.68 that we just saw a minute ago. Probability of at most 7 movies. At most means x is less than or equal to 7. So this is the probability of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Again, we get 0.04 plus 0.08 plus 0.20 plus 0.18, 0.14. Starting to get a little bit of insight as to why sometimes the complements are super helpful. Probability that x is less than or equal to 7 is 0.84. Most people are more comfortable adding up, but once you get the hang of this, life is a whole lot easier. So this is 1 minus the probability that x is strictly greater than 7. So that's the probability he watched 8 movies or 9 movies. That 8 movie is 0.04. The 9 is 0.12. That gives us a probability of 0.16. And 1 minus the probability that x is less than 7, 1 minus 0.16 gives us the 0.84 that we just labored over finding a minute ago. Last one, at least 8 movies. So that's the probability that x is greater than or equal to 8. So the probability of 8 or 9. This one's not bad. I get a 0.04 plus 0.12. This is basically what we just did. So the probability that x is greater than or equal to 8 is 0.16. With the complement rule, that's 1 minus the probability that x is less than 8, which is the same as 1 minus the probability that x is less than or equal to 7. We just did that, so I'm just grabbing that from above. 0.16. And let me make that connection for you. So that's it for the Module 11 Part 1 notes.